Right. So I want to do some introductions without a busy slide, and actually some thank yous. So SEBA has been an agile process within ONF and the operator group and the supplier group, and we want to express our thanks for the ONF executive team, for Andre on the board, for the ONF technical leadership team who formed quickly to help both on kicking off reference design and implementation activities. And in this team, speaking of the ONF technical leadership team, we have Bora Lysik and Manuel Paul from Turk Telekom and Deutsche Telekom. They're not only on the technical leadership team, but they represent two of the key operators in the operator group for SEBA. And I'm from the AT&T Converged Access Device and Technology Group. Eddie Barker is the SEBA RDT chair, so from AT&T. And so also from AT&T, Hank Kafka from the Access Architecture and Standards Group, from the ONF technical leadership team, has provided much leadership in the vision and startup of SEBA, as well as Tom Anschutz, as you know, who worked for the beginnings of ARCORD and Volta and SEBA, and also in other open communities. Also, we want to recognize that Al Blackburn retired from AT&T this year. He was in the ONF TLT, and he actually was the initial SEBA RD chair. So as we were starting the original RD, we want to give thanks to them as well. So in the other area within AT&T has been implementation with an ONF team that formed very quickly that repurposed the developers in the core community in ONF with the prioritization of the executive team, the TLT, to work with the AT&T Foundry group with Troy Munich and Don Newton in the Foundry. And on the ONF side, Saurav Das led a developer team that has worked very agile to do a September SEBA release, which is the foundation of the deployments in the two cities that Andre mentioned earlier, and so achieved a goal that we met. I'll go to the summary here and the rationale. And so, as you heard today, reference designs are new in ONF in 2018, and really think of SEBA as following the concept of those reference designs. It's operator driven with an operator group supported by the supplier group. It has a common infrastructure, that hardware and software, that we will work to help with multiple access technologies. And there was a goal for deploying in 2018, which we've talked about the deployment in 2018. And from a technology point of view, there's some technologies within the ONF communities which we've leveraged, and with Cord 6.0, which introduced containers running in Kubernetes as a cloud underlayer. And and also there are options within this architecture. When you look at the figure, we actually do not draw the picture with a specific ONF component, although those are very important and those were all necessary to accelerate. But it is, for example, as we heard today, the evolution of an SDN controller. Well, there may be some evolution for an access case for another SDN controller, and you heard about a next-gen SDN controller with UPAN. So the access nodes are generalized. The aggregation and service gateway are generalized. Of course, the common components of compute and switching and innovation and new silicon and packaging for the networking within the cloud and the cost points that will come with that are very much part of this picture. And we'll go back to the bullets. And on the edge cloud orchestration, it's a very important component for the tool chain of not just orchestrating the containers in the stack, but thinking of thousands of pods and distributing them geographically. And it becomes an automation challenge within the carrier automation platform that you see up above. The carrier automation platform really is any possible northbound carrier automation platform. It can be operated from a legacy OSS. The architecture from NEM allows the orchestration from your legacy EMS or OSS, or it could use a new system like ONF. And also, the motivation is to develop and deliver access with existing networks. So the initial use cases are actually doing that. And as the other networks evolve with SDN control, then those can happen and be integrated real time into the network. And lastly, there's a theme here that is also related to the mobile edge cloud, which is the aggregation and service gateway enabling service gateway functions closer to the edge, so that there's a possibility of locating those low latency applications at your edge clouds. I'm going to talk about this slide in terms of what you saw relative to the reference designs. This is very similar to what the reference design concept is. One thing about the reference designs is that the ONF website does have a link in the banner with reference designs, and I checked, it actually has the links to the reference designs not only for SEBA but for others, so that the members can start to look at them before the review sessions. In the operator group, you see the names there, and with we're represented on this panel today with AT&T, Deutsche Telekom, Turk Telekom, and Google and NTT have also been involved in the RD process and with contributions, tangible contributions. From ONF, as we were discussing, this is from an operator-driven perspective. RCORD is the history and legacy of these efforts, and the purpose was to define an architecture and a platform which fits that 80% of community development effort that then can be completed with 20% in the operator. And this is a workflow that represents the operator group, ONF, and the supplier group, the initial supply chain group, contributing to, starting with the SEBA RD, which is under review, some initial exemplar platforms, which are under development, and then the per operator workflows, which have been delivered and are under development by operators in this group. And then we've seen this picture of the customization, hardening, field trial, and deployment from that point. Want to recognize and the contributions of these operators with respect to SEBA. They really have also, most have been very involved with Volta, which is very much integrated with this project. So you'll see more integration of the Volta and SEBA roadmap and coordination as we move into next year. Of course, we're doing the ONF member review, and this to echo what has been stated in the kickoff today. This is an opportunity for members to give some feedback on other ideas and other ways of executing, and to join the SEBA community, the scrums, and the possible development of software. And with that, I wish to turn it over to Mike Gasser, from AT&T. He has been very involved in the concept of the AT&T workflow and working with those who are implementing it in ONF and in AT&T. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Tom. What we're going to talk about today in terms of where the AT&T workflow is and how it's going, and actually show some results at the end of how we're actually getting it implemented out in the field. The entire AT&T workflow can be found on our SEBA wiki page, on the Cord wiki page for SEBA, and you can see a lot more detail than we're going to go through today. We'll keep it at a high level today, but there's a link there that you guys can follow and see a little bit more of the detail of what's going on with the SEBA, the AT&T SEBA workflow. If you kind of take a look at what we're doing, and Guru kind of talked about it as we started, we're really trying to go to an edge space. We're really trying to get to a space in a CO, and we're really trying to get pretty small. So we're taking the platform for our needs and trying to get it as small as we possibly can. We're going to have a single aggregation switch. We're going to have some compute. We're going to have some OLT, either blades or plugs. What we're looking at is we're seeing that as we put these various pieces of the platform together, we want to be as flexible as we've been talking about. We want these to potentially be white box switches or any type of switches. At this point, we're talking about edge core switches in our trial, but it could hopefully be any white box. It could be a 16-port white box OLT, or maybe possibly even a single port type of application. And in order to kind of bring all of this hardware together and to kind of fit into our existing environment, we're finding that as we evolve in the network access part, we still are waiting for evolutions in other parts of our network. So we're going to decide to connect to an external BNG for our existing network. We just have, that's the best way to get into our network, is we have lots of CO sites with lots of BNG functionality out there. The simplest way to get this access platform into our network is to connect into that network. Along with that comes some of the existing OSS, BSS systems. So as those systems evolve independently, we will connect into them today. And one of the things that we're doing in order to support that is we've talked about kind of an abstract model for an OLT. We talk about how Volta is a hardware abstraction, and that's abstracting into things. We're going to take a higher level view of all of the different pieces of the pod and kind of make it look like an OLT, where we have some uplinks for capacity into a BNG. We have some individual PON ports that we'll lay out in a structured fashion. But what we look to do with this is we look to be able to create a model that's important for AT&T. It meets what our current deployments kind of look like. It eases our IT impacts. But as we simplify things and as we work to building interfaces, we look to, today we talk about a 16-port edge core device. Maybe there's a 24-port device in the future that can wrap into this model, and we can simplify our IT system, simplify our impacts, where we can rapidly deploy new types of hardware. Maybe we go for a single port device where we can possibly just bring a single port device in. We're really looking to build and simplify our existing OSS BSS systems, simplify our network, and really deploy it. So while this is AT&T's current model, we might have an ONT split ratio of 64 as a target, but maybe we're going to go out with a coexistence element and share some of our existing PON deployments where we can overlay XGS with a coexistence element. Maybe that's a 32-way ONT split. So we're trying to build a software model that is easy to move between technologies and build in that SDN and be able to get to where we want to go. Our overall design of where do we see V-access going and where can we bring the most benefit is really trying to get into that SDN control and really trying to bring new technologies in. You can see a software stack that we're talking about here. Many of these components are what is being developed in the SEBA RD today, in the SEBA initial exemplar platform. We have Volta, we have NEM, we have ONOS, giving that hardware adaptation layer and bringing that stuff in. As we look towards how are we going to interface to our OSS BSS today, we kind of we have an existing infrastructure of ponds and splitters and ordering systems and everything. They work as they do today. We're going to try to create a simple interface, and we're going to use OSAM. OSAM is another open source platform that is being developed with ONAP, so that we can get integration into ONAP. But we can have our OSS BSS come in through a simplified OSAM interface and provision services down into the pod. And so that's one track. You would find that functionality in the ONAP side, in the core, with an OSAM service coming out of ONAP. You also find a piece of it in the pod itself in SEBA, where we have an OSAM adapter that would be communicating with those types of interfaces and operate or realizing that abstract model of how can we provision service. On the other hand, we look to gain a lot of operational efficiencies by being able to move a lot of our operations and technology things into a D2 type of platform, where that completely moves over to ONAP. And we have new dynamic types of systems that the operations teams can program against. They can come in with their own applications with APIs and interfaces, pull statistics, pull monitoring, do large-scale upgrades of the network for software deployment and stuff like that. So we really look to take advantages of what ONAP is bringing to the world in an operational interface. And then on taking it a step further, we look for all of the types of PM streaming, alarm streaming, all of those things coming in the SEBA pod. They're a Kafka interface. We look to have a VES adapter that will take that into the world of DCAE and, again, ONAP. So we're really looking to bring our operational teams, get the operational simplicities, get the operational functionalities, get that programmable, and really get a lot of benefit out of what we're doing. So we really see, yes, we're a little bit tied to the old world in terms of ordering and inventorying fibers and all that kind of stuff, but we really simplify that interface. We really make a lot of good progress, and we bring a lot of benefit to the operations teams as we move into a D2 world and get them on ONAP systems. So we have some good progress. A lot of people have talked about it. Some of the things that we're looking to do, we have operational teams that can come in with pod management functions and really get that types of things, defining what that abstract model looks like, setting up the abstract model. We have high-level APIs that can come through and do our service provisioning that we provide in a unique way. And we provide a set of high-level APIs that OSS BSS can interact with, and we get to the point where it doesn't matter which vendor is providing the OLT, it doesn't matter which vendor is providing the ag switch, it doesn't matter which vendor is providing the compute. We really get that flexibility of we can really operationalize and get a lot of quick-moving stuff. And again, on the alarming and troubleshooting side, we move into a D2 world and have a lot of functionality there. My final slide here today is some success. Here's our pod. This one is in Irving, Texas, and it is hooked in with coexistence into some existing PON networks. We can pass upwards of 120 living units. We also have a pod in Noonan, Georgia, and we're really excited that SEBA's there. At this point, it's a little bit of manual configuration, but we look in early 2019 to be bringing in those interfaces where we're getting some integration in with our OSS BSS systems for flow through provisioning, and we start to bring on some of the DCAE and some of the D2 monitoring aspects as we move through 2019, and we look to be able to scale that up as we're moving forward. So we're happy with the success. We're happy with the hard work of the ONF team. AT&T brought their own development team, as Tom was mentioning, Troy Munich's team out of the Foundry in Atlanta. So we're really excited with where we're at and where we've been able to come in a few short months here in 2018. But we're super happy, and pass it on to Manuel here. So we will, let's see, back up here, if we can figure out how to do that. Back up here to one of the overall, nope, next slide.
That one.
This one? Okay, yes. We'll back it up here, and you're not going to switch, so we'll give this back to Tom, so you can have that.
Right.
Manuel.
Thanks, Mike. And is this working? Yeah. So actually, that's great to come back to this architecture, since the best about this effort is obviously that it's a joint effort led by operators. So it actually really drives real use cases and brings them towards production. And so this is really great. And so while we all started out with Chord, obviously, in 2016, right? So this is actually also just looking back at the POD, the trial that is running now. It's really a great success in a very short time. And so this work on the reference designs actually provides us with, I think, the critical mass working together to make this happen, since obviously we do have a lot of commonality here. And so I'm just going to speak about in a second what on our side at AT&T we focus on. So obviously we can build on the concepts that you've highlighted, Mike. And so one of this is, of course, the right abstractions here for the access network that allows us to be flexible and efficient in making choices that we need to do and enable new hardware, enable open hardware to be brought into the production here. And so we've got our program running at Deutsche Telekom, Access 4.0, that drives the work behind our activities for SEBA. And there's going to be more detail on that this afternoon. Robert Sukup, the program manager, is going to provide a presentation on that. So with regards to the ingredients within the reference design that are very key to us here at AT&T, as said, it's first of all the access network abstraction, and that is Volta. So the use cases include FTTX, so that means FTTH in the first priority and FTTB with XGS-PON, but also GPON. And so here actually we do have the environment that allows to support these use cases. And what we also do and what we also see is very important here, and that is very nicely covered in this framework, this minimum specification that we've done. So that is the part on the service edge. So a subscriber gateway and service termination is for us key to be included and is part of the picture with the ASG, the aggregation and service gateway. So we actually do see a lot of good work happening on the BNG on the service edge side that we can leverage and bring in and combine with set abstraction model and the fully SDN-based and SDN-enabled broadband access architecture that SEBA provides. So I think the elements were already highlighted in detail, and so maybe I just add that on the ASG and on the way how to actually bring that to life and how to build that. There's going to be additional detail also provided by my colleagues from the team that actually works very intensely on making all these elements, bringing them all to life. And so there's Hans-Jörg Kolb's talk on the BNG, on the virtual BNG, and our plans and our focused work and efforts there. So then just looking at what we plan to do next with the collaboration based on this reference design that guides our work on the exemplar, right? So we look forward to contributing our workflow, and an initial detailed view on that one is going to be provided by Björn Nagel, I think today in the afternoon at 4:30. So that also includes the contributions that we plan to make going forward with SEBA to the exemplar, and of course to Volta, which is a key component that we really want to progress and really want to advance further towards production. So I think that's probably more an introduction at this point, but as said, we are really happy to be part of this team and look forward to collaborating further and deeper. And I would just, of course, echo the invitation to the community, to the interested members and prospect members of ONF and of course, this open collaborative effort to join us, review the reference design that is out there right now and available for the members. And so really looking forward to engaging with you and seeing you engaged and collaborating. So thanks very much from my side. With that, I would like to hand it over to Bora.
Thank you very much, Manuel, and welcome everyone. This is Bora Eliachik from Netsia. I'm the VP of Engineering for Netsia, and Netsia is a wholly owned subsidiary of Türk Telekom. And now today I'll try to cover Türk Telekom's activities around SEBA. But before I just dive into the Türk Telekom flows, which actually are very detailed and in a great manner covered by Michael, and I don't want to run into repetitions, let me just give you a little bit of a background about Türk Telekom activities in our whole transformation journey in general. So Türk Telekom has started their transformation journey quite a long while ago, and we took a multi-step approach to that, where we actually started as a first step forward, looking into our networks and services in detail. And then as a second step, we have identified areas for transformation. And this will follow setting in a carrier grade and a VI environment, and an architecture which is actually formed of multi-access edge clouds, which will be in turn be orchestrated by a centralized orchestration platform. So through this approach, we actually also have decided to go with a use case-based approach rather than having the network transformed as a whole. We have identified two main use cases. First of it is the SDNization of the GILAN network. And I'm not going to cover that right now over here, but if you're interested, I really would like you to join us for our presentation about that at the third day of this event, afternoon, which will be delivered by Madhu Kashyap of Netsia and Serkan Tuluderya of Netsia. And the title will be Subscriber-Aware Service Function Chaining. And the second big use case, without a doubt, is SEBA. And for the orchestration, we have chosen ONF to go with. So integrating SEBA and ONF, as covered by Mike as well, will be done through OSAM. And this very afternoon, I will have a talk about orchestrating SEBA pods with ONF, together with Igor of AT&T. And we're going to discuss OSAM in detail in that session, and I would love to see you join us over there too. So yeah, SEBA is a key part of Türk Telekom transformation's journey because it's obviously will be bringing us really a lot of substantial benefits. Needless to say about the CapEx OpEx savings, but the ability to work with white box OLTs and ONTs, along with the ability of mix and match OLTs and ONTs from different vendors. But not only that, but also the reference design we are putting in place is in perfect alignment with Türk Telekom vision and plans. So let me take this opportunity to say that I have had the great pleasure and honor to work with these great people over here and other members of ONF to come up with really a promising reference design. And but not only the reference design, but also we are involved in the exemplar platform, where we really heavily contributing to, and we intend to take that reference architecture and exemplar platform into production. But the exemplar platform as is won't be like out of the box be able to meet all the Türk Telekom requirements. We do have some little bit of additions to that. First of all, just like Manuel said, we'll need GPON to be there. Nowadays, it's only about XGS-PON. And also, Türk Telekom intend to use SEBA not only for the high-speed internet service, but also for other services, other networks of Türk Telekom, like voice over IP and IPTV. And for IPTV, we have both the video on demand and the live TV. And therefore, we will need the multicast also be part of SEBA solution. Having said that, yeah, we'll also need the PPPoE to be there for the authentication. And yeah, just a little bit of more customization for the FCAPs, a little bit more metrics and stuff, so that we will have a perfect alignment in our network. So we actually working towards to achieve these goals closely with our friends in ONF and our partners, operator partners, Deutsche Telekom and AT&T. We will actually start with a external BNG approach, but working closely towards a distributed virtual BNG in the future. So as of today, we have SEBA in Türk Telekom Labs already integrated with our BNGs. And we're looking forward to further integration with the OSS and BSS. And although the real action will start in 2020, we plan to hit the field mid next year. And by Q3, we will have a large-scale trial where we will have real subscribers on the real network. And with that, I would like to pass back to Tom.
Thank you, Bora. Thank you, Manuel and Mike. And I want to thank them for bringing up some advertisements for the afternoon sessions of Tuesday and Wednesday. There is a full set of sessions, other sessions as well, in the afternoon of Tuesday and Wednesday, and even some on the afternoon of Thursday, as Bora mentioned. But they're covering aspects of delivery, aspects of testing and simulating SEBA, and acceleration in terms of architecture from both the from partners in the supply group and from ONF and from others. Also to make sure and check out the demos from partners and others who have come to demonstrate. NTT has a demo for the mini PON, and the mini PON is actually is really their exemplar, is a key exemplar contribution in the RD. So please pay attention in that, the RD, and the opportunity to talk with NTT for their piece. And then I'd like to open it up for Q&A from the audience, and we'll direct the questions as needed. Thank you. Okay, I think the vote might be to speed up and get back on schedule. But let's see if there's a question. We have a question? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good presentation, and looking forward to things. Specifically, why vBNG and BNG, external BNG, if you can collaborate on that? Why BNG and then virtual BNG, not direct?
Let me address it first, and then I think I will let Manuel and Bora speak to my initial answer. But remember, we want to integrate to existing networks. The existing network is 100% of the demand in AT&T, for example, and we also have aspiration for vBNG, and also for how it can converge with an implementation of a PDN gateway. And so you will likely hear more about that. Today's not the day to talk about that for our plans, but for a vBNG and the benefits of that to the edge. I'd like to pass it to Manuel Bor and the rest of the panel. Yes.
All right, yeah. So I had some difficulties understanding the question. It was a little difficult to hear, so it was just about...
I think it's why both. And
both,
I
yeah.
think that's one of the beauties of the RD is that it does support what hopefully multiple operators can need and do. So I mean, for now, AT&T is more focused on an external BNG. For now, it sounds like Turk Telecom too. But Deutsche Telekom's ready for an integrated BNG, and so this RD has been specifically put out to support that. And so you guys can talk to more of your needs to why now versus why in the future. But I mean, we're ready now. The RD's ready for both.
Right, and actually, so we do have the reference designs, right, that give some frame, of course, that are good for a certain amount of time where we see when we go to production, right, what functionality we would like to have covered in this architecture. And so that's why we believe with a time frame of 24 months that this is actually covering from the RD perspective. We are absolutely ready to go for production with a service edge included, and so that's why, as said, right, we do have this coverage of this functionality and of this important element right here in the reference design, but certainly we do start with an incremental approach when it comes to developing the platform, building on top of cord and what is available, focusing that, getting components that are relevant to implement the reference design, so that gives kind of the assembly guidance, right? And so in that case, of course, we do work, right? Work is in progress to enable all of that, but we definitely think we can make that happen. It depends, of course, on what is the demand internally and where and how do we actually get this new design, this next generation of access network into your production. And so for us, that is really a key ingredient to have both the asset access network abstraction as well as the BNG.
I think one of the things that we definitely encourage, and I think we've talked about it a number of times, is for the members to come in and review the RD and make sure that we haven't left any holes of, oh, we really need this at our access edge. I mean, Bor talked about, so there's implementation. There are what has been implemented so far, and that's a certain set of features and functions. But the RD tries to be a little bit more inclusive and not say, well, you have to use this type of authentication, or you have to use this type of BNG interface, or you have to. We haven't tried to do that at all. It's really been a matter of how can we get to multi-vendor, how can we get to multi-operator, how can we get to the scale that we want to do in order to make this platform successful. So encourage the members to come in and provide us further ideas on where there might be some needs for other folks.
Right, and maybe before we move on to Sean, here's a question. I think maybe Bor, would you like to add some color on Turk Telecom for that?
I think we probably want to then move questions into the track for virtualized broadband, because just to keep us on schedule today, and we have actually quite a bit of content, 2 days